Have you ever felt completely, utterly spent, but in a way you just couldn't put into words? You know that feeling like your brain has just stopped cooperating with the life you've so carefully built? If that sounds familiar, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to unpack that feeling, we're going to give it a name, and most importantly, we're going to talk about what to do about it. Let's get into it. This question, man, it just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? It's that feeling when skills you know you have, like remembering a name or even just stringing a sentence together, suddenly feel impossible. The world gets too loud, the lights get too bright, and just getting through the day takes every ounce of energy you have. It's this deep, deep exhaustion that so many of us have felt, but we just haven't had the words for it. Well, there's a name for this state. It's called autistic burnout. And here is the absolute crucial point. You do not need a formal diagnosis of autism to experience this. This isn't just being stressed from work. This is a system-wide shutdown, and it's caused by a long-term conflict between what your brain needs and what the world is demanding from you. It's what happens when you push yourself day in and day out to run software that just wasn't designed for your brain's unique operating system. Okay, so you might be thinking, wait a second, isn't this just regular old burnout from my job? And that is a totally fair question. We need to clear this up right away, because telling them apart is the key to actually finding a solution that works. So let's break down exactly how they're different. This is where it gets really clear. Look at the core trigger here. Occupational burnout, that's about your job. But autistic burnout, that's about your entire life. Your home, your social life, your job, all of it. One might make it hard to do your work, but the other can lead to losing basic life skills, like remembering to eat or even being able to speak. A vacation might help with job burnout, right? But to fix this deeper kind, you have to do something totally different. You have to reduce the total load on your system and start unmasking, which is just a way of saying you stop performing normalcy 24/7 and let yourself just be. So here's the secret that almost no one talks about. This feeling isn't a character flaw. It is not you being weak or lazy. It is a completely predictable, logical response from your nervous system. It's a big, flashing alarm bell telling you that you have been trying to operate in an environment that just doesn't fit your wiring. All right, so where does this great mismatch actually show up in our day-to-day lives? Well, let's look at two of the biggest places it's happening right now, the modern workplace and our digital lives. You've definitely heard the term quiet quitting. It gets thrown around a lot, often with a negative spin, like it's about being lazy. But let's be real. For a lot of people, it's a totally rational act of self-preservation. It's what happens when that unspoken deal that if you work hard, you'll be supported and valued gets broken. So you pull back. You set a boundary to protect your own well-being. That's not a failure. It's a strategy. Now, this mismatch also shows up in a place we spend a ton of our time, online. And for neurodivergent folks especially, social media is this huge, confusing paradox. It can be an amazing tool for connection, but it can also be just incredibly hostile to our nervous systems. And this visual just lays it out perfectly, doesn't it? On the one hand, social media can be a total lifeline. You can find your people, your community, people who finally get it. But on the other hand, my God, the endless scroll, the constant notifications, the sensory overload, it creates this nonstop distraction machine that can just crank up your anxiety. It gives, but it also takes away. And that leads to this thing we all do, dopamine swirling. Now, this isn't just you being bored. The key word here is pursuit. It's an active hunt for something new, something novel, driven by the reward circuits in our brain. And for ADHD brains, which tend to have a lower baseline of dopamine, that fire hose of unpredictable little hits from new content, it's not just a distraction. It can feel almost essential, which makes it so hard to stop. And what's the result of all that scrolling? You end up with this feeling of totally fragmented attention and a deep, humming mental exhaustion. It's what people are starting to call brain rot, where you feel like your ability to just sit and think has been completely worn away. Sound familiar? Yeah, I thought so. Okay, so if the problem is a mismatch, the solution can't be to just try harder. I'm guessing you've already tried that, probably to the point of total exhaustion. The real solution is to completely change how we think about our own brains. We have to shift the whole paradigm. Here's the framework for that shift.
For a long time, we've operated under the medical model. It basically says if your brain works differently, it's a deficit, and the goal is to fix you so you can fit in. But the neurodiversity paradigm completely flips that on its head. It says, hey, what if these differences are just a natural, valuable part of human diversity? The goal isn't to change the person, it's to change society to make space for everyone.
And this quote from Nick Walker it nails it. The idea that there is one normal or healthy type of brain is a culturally constructed fiction. It's not a biological fact, it's just a story we've been told. And realizing that is the first step to taking your power back.
So let's be crystal clear about this. If you take away only one thing from our time together, please let it be this. Your nervous system is not broken. You are not a personal failure. Your brain is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It is responding perfectly and predictably to an environment that has been pushing it past its limits. The problem isn't you, it's the mismatch.
Adopting that new way of thinking is huge, but what do you actually do with it? Well, the single most powerful and practical tool we have is learning how to set boundaries. I know. For so many of us, that word boundaries feels selfish. It feels mean. We've been taught that it's our job to be accommodating, but we have to reframe that. Setting a boundary is a fundamental act of self-care. It's the skill you use to protect your energy and stop burnout before it even gets started. And if you're thinking, great, but I have no idea how to do that, don't worry. Here's a simple, safe way to start. First, start small. Don't try to set some huge, life-altering boundary with your boss on day one. Just practice saying no to a small, low-stakes request. Second, be clear and direct. You don't need a 5-minute excuse. Just a simple, I can't take that on right now, is incredibly powerful. And third, and this is the hardest part, you have to be consistent. You're teaching people how to treat you, and that takes repetition. So what does it look like when we really start to apply these ideas, not just for ourselves, but in how we build our teams and our communities? I absolutely love this next idea. It's about building your own starship enterprise. Seriously, think about it. The crew of the Enterprise works so well because it is a perfect model of neurodiversity in action. You've got Spock's pure logic, McCoy's deep empathy, and Kirk's amazing ability to mediate between them. Nobody expects Spock to be the emotional one. Nobody expects McCoy to be a logic machine. Their different ways of thinking are the crew's greatest strength. This quote just sums it all up. The system is designed to turn these differences into strengths that complement each other. It recognizes that real success comes from weaving together different ways of thinking, not from trying to make everyone think the same way. And that's the real long-term strategy here. When you set boundaries, you are building your own personal starship enterprise. You are designing a life and demanding environments that actually honor your needs. It is the ultimate act of self-care. And you know what? It's also a quiet act of resistance against a world that constantly asks us to be someone we're not.
Of course, it's not always that easy. Let's be real. When you start changing the rules and setting boundaries, some people, they're not going to like it. They're going to push back. So what do you do then? How do you hold your ground? That is a crucial question, and one we're going to dig into next time.
And one last thought. If this explainer gave you a word for a feeling you've been carrying around, if it helped you connect some dots for yourself, maybe think about sharing it. There's a really good chance that someone in your life is looking for these exact same words, and you might just be the one to help them find them. Thanks for digging into all this with me today.
If this touched your heart, please subscribe, like, and share it with your family. Save this for more meaningful content ahead.